Three, two, one. Booyakasha.
Welcome to the clubhouse, degenerates. I don't know why I said it like that. I started to go like UFC announcer.
Are you just going to keep calling it Clubhouse the studio?
Welcome to the clubhouse. This is the clubhouse. The people listening are
Ah,
degenerates.
Clubhouse,
Welcome to the
comma, degenerates.
degenerates. Yeah.
Because last week I think because this was our inaugural episode here, the new
Mhm.
studio, you called it the Clubhouse Degenerates, like it was one, like it was the
You
name.
think that's too confusing?
Oh yeah, well, yeah, Clubhouse, comma, degenerates makes more sense.
So you think I should say welcome to the clubhouse, degenerates?
Sure.
Doesn't really roll off the tongue, Mondo.
No, doesn't at all.
Not so much. Anyhow, you were over here yesterday
Uh huh.
helping me a little bit with the building stuff, and I did want to bring this up on the podcast because I was dying laughing in the background, overhearing an interaction you had with my dad.
Oh,
Where, yeah, like he walks down the stairs, and you're like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And he goes, "Congested." A- And then you were very polite. You were trying to, oh yeah, it's that time of year. It's getting hotter and colder, and then he started telling you about his eye, and I'm like, Dad, that is not how that question works.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to. So we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I was just what are your go tos when somebody asks the "How are you doing?" question and you are having a shitty day?
Again, so if it's like a customer, I mean, I'm in sales, so I'm talking to people all day every day, and if it's a customer and I have enough rapport with them and they ask me if my day was shitty or how my day was, and it was a shitty day, and I've told you how sometimes I'll say, same shit, different toilet. But if it's like a customer that I barely kind of know, I don't feel comfortable with, I may just kind of pretend like, oh, everything's great, man, how are you? I just kind of, but I never respond with congested. I never respond with, I got a headache.
Oh my! I mean, if you do that outside of a close, intimate social setting, you're just a psychopath. There's like no way. Like,
Yeah.
what would you do if that happened? If you were meeting a customer you'd never met before, and you're like, "Hey, how you doing?" and they go, "Congested."
I'm like, hey man, I know I did this medicine I've used has worked before. Have you ever tried this or this? I just make some shit up.
But if that was your first impression, like, what
Yeah.
would you think of that person? Like, how are you when you're taking mental notes of like, all right, I've got to deal with this person. Like, what is going down in your mental notebook?
I definitely not to sound not to sound mean to but I think of them like they're down to earth, like they're gonna be easier to talk to. They're gonna be open about sharing things that they probably are overshares otherwise. You know what I mean?
Because they said congested.
Yeah, because
Huh.
when it's a stranger and they're telling you like what their physical ailments, whatever it may be, and they're already kind of opening up some information, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's all right, sure.
Congested.
Congested.
My eyes are dry. My left ball really itches.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why it's just the left one. Like there's definitely a point where it starts to get a little bit alarming. At least to me,
Yeah.
it would be.
Depends on what they're sharing. Again, there's a matter of how well you know the person, and then whether or not it's a overshare or not depends on how well you know them.
I think if you're having a bad day and it's someone you've never met, you say okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. You're like, I'm okay. And
Good,
you
yeah,
just don't
good.
get it.
Yeah, like I said, sometimes if it's people I don't know, like good. Even if it may be a shitty day, like good, yeah, good. How are you?
And I still the one I like to go to is I'm hanging in there
Yeah.
because it sounds kind of playful. And I swear to God, I think people think of that poster of the kitten. Or wait, you're making a face. Have you never seen that poster?
I've seen various posters of various kittens, but not one where it says hanging in there.
There is a classic poster of a kitten hanging off a tree branch, and it says "Hang in there."
Oh,
Uh,
I would assume if I would have seen like an animal of any kind and hanging, I would imagine it'd be like a monkey hanging on a tree, like hanging in there.
Well, right, but you're not concerned for the monkey. That's what they're designed to
Oh.
do. The kitten, you're like, oh no, is it gonna fall? It's a kitten. Wait, hold on. There's like a billion of them, but kitten hang in there. It is a classic poster, and it's kind of cute and cuddly. So I think they think of that. Wait,
Did you ever work in an environment, whether it's an
here, see,
office?
take a look at that.
I'd never seen that before. Did you ever work in an environment where they had those inspirational
Yes.
posters that says like perseverance, and it's like this tower being like bombarded with waves of water, and it's just like one dude just kind of like shitting himself, or
Oh, that is a staple of any uh, like athletics department.
Yeah.
All the stupid inspirational posters, you know, and then it's always something with nature. You're right. It's be perseverance, and then it's a picture of a forest. And you're like, what the fuck does perseverance have with? I guess the trees keep growing. I don't know.
Those became memes for a while too. They would have like, like a big word in big giant bold letters, and then underneath it would like have say some stupid little descriptor of what you know. You've never seen those? I've seen those. Those are pretty funny. It's been a while since I've seen them.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's my dad.
Yeah.
He's congested apparently.
You said he still has like one like child. I wouldn't say child, but he has like one buddy. You said he has like one friend. I remember you and I were talking about how your dad has very few friends, and he has like he's just one friend he's had forever.
Uh, so he's got a friend where it's like I don't know if you could really. I guess you'd still call him a friend, but it'd be the same thing as like someone from high school or I guess more like college that I've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's some Lancers that I have not seen for 20 years where I'm like I guess we'd call them a friend, but like we barely talk or.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's one like that, but he's just got one. And then he's got he does have another friend who every time he hangs out with him, he will grumble about it a lot because the guy's got some issues. I think he's
Ah.
bipolar,
Ah.
and he would. God, I'm not using his name. Fuck it. It's not like I'm saying his name is Dave. But yeah, Dave had a lot of like manic episodes where he'd freak out and he'd start like buying all kinds of random shit, and his wife divorced him, and he's a little bit of a mess.
Yeah, not having
That's my dad's like most. That's the only person that he's hung out with that in recent, this last decade.
not having an abundance of friends or like close family. They don't necessarily need to be siblings. They could be like cool cousins or whatever. But not having like close family or a group of friends can be a detriment to your your social how you socially interact with people. That's
Oh,
why being homeschooled, I think, is not a good idea.
you know what though? Here's the
Oh.
counter argument. I went to public school, and I don't think it fucking helped me one bit, man.
Yeah, but did you make attempts to make like a lot of friends, or you kind of closed off?
I did make attempts to make friends. I had a few by the end. Took me a while, but I got there.
There was Pinchy, Pinchy, your stuffed animal crab.
I had 3 stuffed animal friends and like 4 human friends.
Oh, cool.
I know.
The ratio is almost 50-50. Cool.
I'm not going to tell you which ones I like better.
Knowing you, I would assume it'd be your imaginary and or stuffed animal friends.
You know what? Did you have imaginary friends? I never did.
I had an imaginary friend when I was like, I don't know, 6 or something like that, like young age. Like 'cause we would watch all them fucking Disney, animated Disney movies like back in the day, like Pinocchio and Cinderella and all that shit. And something in Peter Pan caught my imagination. So my imagination was like a Peter Pan like flying kind of like a
Oh,
kid that could fly and kind of that was my imagination. I don't remember his name. Again, I was super young, but I did have an imaginary friend.
fair enough.
My mom would catch me talking to like the air and shit. I think I had a brother, but he was, he may have been young, like super young or a baby or just dumb or, it wasn't until we were older that we would get into trouble together.
Well, all right. I don't think I had a vivid imagination, never had imaginary friends. I would imagine like worlds that I was interacting with, but I didn't have a consistent friend
What
that.
about like outside of like stuffed animals, toys? Did you ever have like an imagination where you would like I had GI Joe, I had tons of GI Joe, and I would have like act outs with like one would talk to the other. You're like, did you ever do that with toys?
No.
No,
Nope.
really?
Yeah. Never.
Wow. Did you ever have any toys like that, like
Oh,
Ninja Turtles or any like?
tons
Oh,
of them,
okay,
tons
and
of
you
them.
never had them like
Nope.
battle each other or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Wow.
Not that I recall. Maybe I did because I know I had a lot of those when I was like 4, 5, 6.
Uh huh.
And then I think my mom slowly started getting rid of them because I would leave them fucking everywhere. She probably was getting sick of that. But there was somewhere I was going with this. I don't remember where it is anymore. So we're gonna make a sharp left, Mondo.
Okay.
We're gonna exit whatever highway backcountry road this is, and we're gonna get onto the Ask Reddit highway.
Yeah.
Interstate Ask Reddit.
Before we go with that, put the mic closer to your mouth just a tiny bit because your room's acoustics are a little more echoey.
Yeah.
There you go.
What's happening is as I'm turning to look at you,
Mhm. You're not doing
right?
it's the shape of the mic, like whether it's a cardioid or
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I can hear it too.
There you go.
I guess I gotta just look forward. Maybe you're right. Maybe we do have to. We're still, we're still working out the kinks of the new studio.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of kinks we're gonna have to work out for a while.
I like working out kinks.
Mm-hmm.
Just gotta rub a little oil in there. Just work those kinks out.
Work them.
AskReddit speed round, Mondo.
Okay.
So I've got pulled up the most popular Reddit questions from the last 365 days.
Ooh.
So let's just plow through these.
Sure.
We're gonna work the kinks out and plow through them.
No lube?
Maybe just a little bit of grease.
A little spit.
Yeah. Sure. Would limiting the oh wait, this is phrased strangely. Would limiting the age of the president to 65 be something you'd support? Why or why not?
Yeah. I look at fucking Biden, man. He's lost his marbles. I would say there's a certain minimum. What is the current minimum?
45.
45. I would even reduce that, but also lower the higher threshold, whatever the higher end is right now. There's like a window of like perfect balance between like you've kind of started your adulthood years. You're kind of a little more have a little more wherewithal. It definitely wouldn't be 20s. It'd be like maybe mid 30.
I don't know. I think the lowest I would go is 40.
Really? Okay.
Because
high 30s, early 40s.
So something happens when you round 40 and you're like, oh, my mortality is real.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like mid 30, 35, 36 year olds. They're still pumped full of all that testosterone. I think, you know what, with guys, that's literally what it is. Like women, that would be a weird double standard. Women, it could be 30. Men, it should be 40.
How about this?
You need that testosterone to start to dip a little bit in the men before they can be president.
In order to be approved for president, your age must fall between the range of on the low end where you're not trying to fuck everything, or maybe you've had. Oh, how about this? You've already had a colonoscopy, so you've already had a colonoscopy on the low end. On the high end, you have to be able to get a boner without dick pills.
That's actually pretty good.
That's a good range, right?
That's good. Although the one problem with that is you could just get a colonoscopy if you're 30, if you really wanted to be the president.
Yeah, but I'm talking about people that like you're already having your metabolism slowing down. You're kind of having tummy problems.
I like that, Mondo, because here's the other thing with Biden. It's a little bit hard to tell because sometimes he's pretty lucid, but it's like the same thing with my parents. I mean, they're a little bit younger than he is, but they're kind of in that age range as well.
Yeah,
and it's like they're fine during the day. And then sometimes maybe you catch them after like 8 o'clock at night and you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like
they get tired and loopy, or
they're just old, or maybe had like a cocktail and it just hits them like way harder. And I don't know if you want the president being someone who can't stay up past 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
that's not ideal. So I support that. You have to be able to get a boner of your own volition, and you have to have had a colonoscopy. That's the high.
What would be the equivalent for a woman?
Although Bill Clinton would be able to be president when he was 100.
Probably.
That dude will be 100 years old.
What about what about women? Like the high end threshold for women? Like, is it like they can't be in menopause just yet? Like in that?
You know what? I don't really know when that happens in women, like when they go through menopause. So I don't know. I'm not as worried about the women because I feel like I'm
more afraid of a unbalanced woman being a president.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's as related to their age. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. So we'd have to table that, get back to it later. But there's a low end and a high end. You have to be able to have had a colonoscopy minimum.
Speed round. Let's go.
Sure.
This is the police officers. We don't want that. Okay. You meet your 13-year-old self, but you can only tell them 3 words. What do you say and why?
I would. This is funny. Avoid all girls.
What?
Yeah. Yes. I think I is here's my thing.
What?
I think before
Your
hormones started taking over and making my fucking head spin and getting boners and wanting to
your
bang
your
chicks.
13-year-old self is like, I grow up to be gay.
No, no, no. I'm saying like you're limiting it to 3 words. I would say avoid all girls. If I could add a few words, it'd be like until you're in your mid 20s or something like that. But there's that age where like you start getting random boners in class and your dick does most of your thinking for you. And I think I lost sight of um, focusing on education and social stuff because I was more concerned about getting laid, and that had priority over everything else. I think if I focused more on my studies and like athletics and just being a good person, a good friend, I'd get further into being a more mature young adult sooner. I think the fact that women were introduced to me made me like just kind of I'm a product of what's that saying? Uh,
Speed round.
yeah, I don't know. Go ahead. I just there was something I was trying to come up with, but I heard it before, but never mind.
Buy Google stock. Done.
Okay,
Uh,
buy Google stock.
buy Google stock.
Okay,
Uh, how much would you pay for a list of everyone who has ever sexually fantasized about or masturbated to you? Why? Question mark.
how much would I pay?
For a list of everyone who has ever sexually fantasized about you.
I'd pay a couple G and then just so I could chase after them and go bone them, fulfill their destiny, their desires.
I pay zero.
You wouldn't pay?
Slippery slope. And here's the thing. I thought about this just now. It would be nice to know, but I think particularly with girls, I don't think them sexually fantasizing about you necessarily equals them fucking you in real life. And
Not if I have something to say about it.
and and also like in my case, I feel like that list would be really kind of outdated. Where I'm like, great, this would have been good to know 15 years ago. This doesn't help me so much right now.
Yeah,
But the other side about that, I think there's going to be a whole bunch of people on that list where you're like, oh God, I wish I didn't know that.
yeah.
Like I feel like this is a Pandora's
I don't know. I'd
box
be
that
I'd,
I do not wish to
I'd be
enter into.
I'd be flattered. Fix the mic again because it moved away from your mouth.
You fix your mic.
No, you fix. There you go.
What villain was terrifying because they were right?
Oh wow, that one requires a Thanos. I think I kind of hey, I wouldn't necessarily like wipe half the Earth without like they'd have to have like a pass a moral. Like, do they have good morals? Do they deserve to be on here, or are they just a waste of life? And but like, yeah, get rid of half the population of the world. Fuck yeah.
Except here's the thing that I was kind of
Thanos was right.
frustrating to me about Thanos is like, do you not understand how populations work? Like,
Yeah, they start boning and have more people. They
yeah,
reproduce.
there'll be an abundance of resources. Like, are you just gonna wipe out half of life every, however many hundreds or thousands of years?
Well, the it's like the assumption is like the whole only the strong will survive. You're only speeding up that process, and you're hoping that the intelligent, stronger.
Well, that's the other part too. If you remember, he did it randomly.
Yeah, that's what I'm
He
saying.
he
Is
wasn't getting rid of like
he was mostly right. He was entirely right. It would be there'd be you'd have to be past a selection, be a selection process.
I'm trying to pull up a list because you know what, I hadn't really thought about this too much. Villains who are right. Mr. Glass from Unbreakable. I don't know about that. Somebody from Assassin's Creed. These are all people I've never heard of. Gore the God Butcher.
Gore the God Butcher. He was played by what's his name? Christian Bale.
Koba from Planet of the Apes.
Speed round, speed round, speed round.
Magneto. I'm gonna go with Magneto.
I like Magneto. He's cool. He's a good bad guy.
Yeah, but he also was like, oh, they're just trying to kill our entire
Yeah, he was
species.
because he was a victim of the Holocaust and all that stuff.
But they also were trying to kill all the
Yeah.
mutants. Like
Well,
even in like
non-mutants.
present day.
He was trying to kill all non-mutants.
No, but the non-mutants were also trying to wipe out mutants.
Gotcha. They were fighting each other.
Yeah. He's just, self-preservation. That was a little tricky one. No, it's too complicated. What's a modern day scam that's become normalized and we don't realize it's a scam anymore?
I think like all those Herbalife, like those, those supplement thing. There's a number of companies out there that are like very. It's like, are they pyramid schemes? It's very gray whether or not they are or aren't pyramid
Mhm.
schemes. But you're kind of like, so I gotta. In other words, I gotta be a member and then I gotta sell this to be a member. And I remember when I worked for the bank, there was a division of Citibank called AmeriCorps,
Uh-huh.
and they were like if you were a member of AmeriCorps, you have to sell life insurance and all this other weird shit. And it was kind of like, what? Am I an employee or am I a customer? It was the gray line was very grayed.
I, I've got two because I cheated. I looked at the one of the answers. The one that popped into my head first is the stock market. I feel
Okay.
like it is kind of a scam because yes, some companies they get their valuation and they're like this company's worth, however many millions or billions of dollars, and they're producing like real tangible things that have intrinsic value.
Yeah.
But some companies, especially the internet based companies, they're just attaching this number, and it doesn't really have a connection to reality.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, you will never fully eliminate insider trading. Like if you document and get caught, it's because you're a fucking idiot and you weren't wiping your track. You weren't,
I,
covering your tracks.
I think the stock market as a whole, as an entity, is a scam. It's just this basic agreement that we've made. Where like, yeah, we're just going to pretend these made up numbers actually correspond to this company, and in a lot of cases they don't. Uh, and then just like you're saying, there are scams inside scams. But wait, this is the best one I saw. Credit scores. And this is what the person says. They started in 1989 and are designed to encourage debt. Where it's like, what the fuck is a credit score, anyways? It doesn't really make sense.
It's supposed to be how good are you at repaying shit is kind of the gist of a FICO score.
Yeah, but I think it is a scam.
Because there's people that are like my mom, for forever, for probably her first 30 or 40 years of her existence, was paying everything via cash
Mhm.
and had amazing credit. And like everyone would offer her like a credit line, whatever, and she would like never use them. So it was kind of like it doesn't really define whether or not she's good at paying shit off. It just means that she's just been good about paying everything with
Well,
cash.
exactly. With the first apartment I got in Whittier, uh, I was shocked. I'm like, how? Because they gave it to me right away. They're like, oh yeah, you can move right in, and I didn't understand how. And they're like, oh, your credit score is great,
Yeah.
because I'd never actually.
Also, along the same lines, when you're in when you're legally 18, you can sign up for credit cards. And like remember in college there was all those credit card, like sign up for credit card, you get like $15, blah 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 blah. And immediately you're logged up for like $1,000 credit line,
Yeah,
and you just go and spend it like a dumbass because you're not financially responsible enough
right.
yet. You're like the perfect ripe age to spend like an idiot.
Dumb as shit.
Yeah.
Credit scores.
Yeah.
What cheap and mass-produced item is stupendously well engineered?
Cheap and mass produced.
You know what? Let me see. I'll read a couple from the answers, and
Okay.
then that'll kind of toilets. The guy says, "I've been a plumber 20 years and very little has changed or needed to," which that actually kind of makes sense. They're pretty cheap. Whistle for a few cents, you can be heard in the middle of nowhere for nearly a mile. And zip ties. That's a great one. Zip ties cost nothing, and those things are fucking indestructible. Do you have an answer?
I don't know. I was gonna say just like water bottling is kind of like a bottle, like a water bottle. It's literally water with chemicals, sometimes minerals, or maybe like in this case, it's been just purified. But they're not inventing anything. They don't come up with anything. Just like gathering a resource and maybe adding a little science to it, and then selling it at a premium. And it's like how there's. It's not like the world is in drought. There's water everywhere. The earth is made of what is it? 70% water? I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah. Anyway.
I was gonna say Ziploc bags.
Okay.
Just very, very useful. A lot of applications, and they seal so perfectly. Let's do like two more, then move on. Go to work naked day is now a mandatory national holiday. Which jobs have the worst outcome from this?
Go to work naked day.
I'm gonna say welders.
Welders, yeah, because then you're gonna burn your ding dong, or if you're a vagina, vagina or boobs or whatever. If you're a female, yeah, that's not a go to work naked day. Yeah, pretty much anything in construction, really, if you think about it, like working at a lumber mill, like fucking like, just random debris going up your beehole.
Oh, this person got it even better.
Okay,
Same vein that we're talking about, but they're right. This person wins. Insulation installers. Oh God, that would be awful.
because you get all itchy.
Oh yeah, fiberglass, like the little pink fiberglass. I would only install there's different types of insulation now, and some of them aren't nearly as harsh. I'd be like, nope, I'm only installing the high end shit. No fiberglass insulation when on go to work naked day. That'd be a rough life.
A fryer cook. You're like behind like hot boiling oil, and just you drop your French fries in there, and that shit just fucking goes everywhere.
That's what someone said, and that is depending on how tall are you. That's kind of waist height. And this is the last one. Someone said magician.
You can't hide anything. Nothing up my sleeve because I don't have sleeves.
You could one place.
Oh.
Where did that wand come from? And we actually answered that one already. Let's see one more. I don't know if we can do this. What's a company secret you can now share that you don't work there?
A company secret that you now share that you can't work for. Okay, yeah, I'd love to burn a previous employer. There's a company I worked for a year called Western Dental. They were in orthodontics and dentistry, and the reason that they're so affordable is 'cause they hire the fresh out of like for a dentist or orthodontist, it's fresh out of school, so they have no experience, and they're pretty much just practicing in a lot of cases with their customers, clients, or whatever. But even like the dental assistants and all the hygienists and all that stuff, like they hired the cheapest of the cheapest of cheapest, so that Western Dental can get there's a reason why they're cheap, is because you're paying for cheap service, cheap employees, cheap those little brackets. Braces is a fucking scam, by the way. Those little brackets, each little bracket only costs about 50 cents. Okay, let's just say $1 per bracket, but they charge you like $50 per bracket when you break them. And so just think about it. You have 26 teeth. They charge you $26 for like $2,000 worth of treatment, and you break a bracket, they charge you $50. That's a big scam. Fuck Western Dental.
Yeah, it didn't always seem like braces in general should not be that expensive. Okay, one I had was this was a secret from the admissions department of a private college I worked for.
Okay.
Like they get a breakdown of the family's financials, like because the families have to apply. Well, families that apply for FAFSA, which is the government-based financial aid, if they apply for that, which virtually every family does, whether unless they're stupid rich, then the school gets a breakdown, and that admissions department would look at the family's financials, and they'd say, oh, they're making this much. Like they basically try to figure out, based off of that, how much money they could extract from the family. They're like, oh, they can, they actually the dad makes this much, so we can probably charge this kid a little bit more. So they'd hand out scholarships, and very few of the scholarships were based on like actual merit. It was more like, well, this kid's poor, and if you don't give them this much of a scholarship, they're not going to come. So they were it was like, wasn't about like, we want this kid at the school. It was just purely how much money can we extract.
That doesn't surprise me one fucking bit. Having gone to Whittier College, that doesn't surprise me one bit.
Oh, I bet they do the same thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I think there's a precious few people at Whittier who are getting scholarships based on merit. And everyone else is just like let's every dollar and cent.
I was supposed to maintain like a 3.0 GPA to maintain my scholarships. Otherwise, I'd get kicked out. I don't think I ever had a 3.0 at Whittier College. I think I graduated like a 2.7 or some shit like that.
Really?
Yeah. And they never threatened to take me off of the scholarships or anything. It's just like, well, you're already coming here. We'll just they need the numbers. You're brown.
That shit probably wasn't. Are you brown?
Yes.
more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, What are yours big on diversity? They got diversity quotas to meet.
Dude, there's a lot. I don't want to get into that, but that more and more about 50% of the original board of trustees have bailed with Whittier College board. There's been so much drama. The president is a nepotistic fucking cunt. Anyway, fuck her. She could die.
Mondo, you know where else there was some drama?
Where?
In The Last of
The
Us
Last of Us
season finale.
season finale. The episode was titled "Look for the Light."
Is the slogan of the Fireflies.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's kind of cool. Little
Look for the light.
cool.
Because they're fireflies, you
Yeah.
know, like little blinking lights
Uh-huh.
in the night. You ever seen a firefly, Mondo?
I have not seen an actual real life
Oh,
firefly.
really?
I've only seen them in the only place I've ever seen fireflies is in the Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride Disneyland, those little fake ones.
Yeah, that's not quite how they look, but yeah, it's a real thing. They
I've
like
never seen one in
blink in the
actual.
night. Oh, it looks cool as fuck.
Never seen one.
So this was a weird episode. I thought in some ways, because there were a lot of things that they added,
Uh-huh.
you know, to flesh out that ending from the game,
Uh-huh.
which I thought worked great. And then the actual parts of the game, they were like, we're just gonna fucking rush through this, which was weird. I mean, so let's start the last episode starts with this sort of long, I guess it was a flashback to Ellie's mother giving birth.
Right.
She's running through the woods. She gets into a house. I mean,
And you don't know it's Ellie's mother, so they don't say, "Oh, this is Ellie's mother running in the forest." It's just like there's this random pregnant woman, and she goes into this fucking abandoned house.
I knew it was Ellie's mother.
I did not. I assumed.
I will tell you how in a minute.
I know how you know.
You know how I know how you know how I know.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of that whole sequence as a whole? Just do you think it added? Do you think it just slowed the episode down?
It kind of it was necessary because it kind of explained, at least into my mind. I don't know shit about science and blood and transfusions and shit. That you needed that scene to kind of explain how Ellie's blood, how she was born with like an immunity to, or potentially immunity to these the spores or the fucking this virus that's going around.
You know, that was never something I was hung up about in The Last of Us. You know, I was never like, oh, I don't understand how Ellie's immune, so the story doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that just happens, right? Like there's always mutations. The same way the fungus can kind of mutate and change. Humans will mutate, and someone's going to be born with just a slight gene variation that maybe makes them immune. So that wasn't something I got hung up on. I also don't know the science enough where I could say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Because I do know that a lot of times if a mother has immunity, like say they had been exposed to a virus and they built up the antibodies to that, they can actually transfer that to their child. But that didn't exactly make sense because it wasn't like her mother had built up any sort of immunity to the fungus. I don't know. I didn't really think too hard about that aspect. I was just wondering, I mean, you think seeing her mother, the interaction with what was the Firefly lead name? Marlene, yeah. If the interaction with Marlene,
yeah, Marlene.
Did that really, you think that added anything?
Yeah, because then fast forward, I don't want to spoil what we're gonna get into anyways, but when she has that conversation with Joel and she explains like, I know more than anybody, then you're like, she does kind of know more than anybody.
Yeah.
What she's doing. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, that whole sequence, especially at the end, very, very intense, right? Because you see Ellie's mom, like, I mean, she's obviously deep into labor, being chased by a runner, has to fight off the runner, and then, like, I guess in the process of fighting off the runner, pops out a baby.
She gets bitten. So I don't know how fast cordyceps travel through the bloodstream or anything, but she gets bitten. But then also, I don't know if you caught this, the same knife she used to stab the runner in the face
Uh-huh.
is the same knife she uses to cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah, and it's also then the knife that Marlene
Gives
gives to
to yeah,
Ellie, and
yeah.
then Ellie.
So that blood from that dude went into her umbilical cord, and the baby gets fed through the umbilical cord. So that I mean, again, I'm not a scientist. This is probably not gonna. It's not probably how it really
Professor
works.
Mondo.
Yeah. Well, I'm bald enough. I can be Professor X,
I,
Professor Mex.
that actually would be hilarious. I want to go on a whole tangent of Mexican, like the Mexican branch of the X-Men. But let's table that for another day.
Sure.
Uh, I, again, I'm not hung up on the science, because we're talking about like a made up mutation to a fungus,
Yeah.
and then that is all believable enough where it doesn't distract me. I was a little surprised. I'm like, damn, like how wide are Ellie's mom's hips? Because
What?
you well think about it. I mean, you see all these scenes of like childbirth, and it's like push,
Uh huh.
push. You gotta, and she goes from baby inside her womb. She's fighting the runner. Oh fuck, the baby popped out.
Okay.
She just literally popped that baby out.
Well, you don't think the fear like made her just kind of like push?
I don't know. Is that how that
Like I
works?
don't know.
Can you just
I've never had baby. I've had butt babies. Closest thing I had.
when if a woman's having like childbirth, could you just like jump scare her and then the baby just flies out?
Maybe.
I don't know how that works. But I did think that was a little bit crazy that she mid fight, apparently she popped a baby out.
Yeah. Pretty
That's
cool.
like must have had some super wide hips.
Yeah.
There was just
Just say it. She had a big vagina.
it was less a birth canal and more of than a slip and slide.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And then the sequence though, the part that I think really added a lot was that whole sequence when Marlene finds her, because it's
Uh-huh.
like she's literally like rocking the baby, little baby Ellie, um, who probably in her head is like, "Fuck you, man!" Like that's what the baby, I assume, was thinking.
Yeah.
And then, but she's holding a knife to her neck because she's afraid she's going to turn.
Yeah.
She's trying to balance like, oh, I need to care for this helpless infant, but I also might have to kill myself any second.
Yeah.
Um, and then you could see the weight of it on Marlene. I think the actress did a really good job um, of kind of conveying that, because like at first she doesn't want to kill her, and then when she makes that decision of, oh, this is what I have to do,
Yeah.
there's just no hesitation, no fucking around. She just no goodbyes either. No like, I love you, you're my best friend. She just like walks in the room, boom, caps
So
her.
here's this is one tiny little bitty stupid little nitpick with that scene in particular.
Uh huh.
Marlene tells that other fucking Firefly dude, like, hey, cover the baby's ears. Because obviously she knows he's gonna shoot a gun, it's gonna make it a
Yeah.
lot boom. But he doesn't cover her ears.
No, not at
She
all.
just shoots the gun and it's like fucking deafen the little baby. Why don't you, idiot?
Yeah. No, next time send your buddy who has no emotional attachment to your best friend. Let him kill her,
Yeah.
and you cover baby Ellie's ears.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because really, it seems like Ellie should be the one that is deaf. Maybe they should both be deaf together.
Yeah.
Like Ellie has a good left ear and Joel has a good right ear.
Yeah.
So if they,
They put their heads together and they could.
yeah, they have to make sure that they always walk in like side by side in a particular order. But that part I actually thought made a lot of sense in terms of Marlene's character, because you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
kind of see how she operates. Like she really does have a heart and she struggles with these things, but when she decides something needs to get done,
Yeah, she reminds me of the fuck is a John Bernthal's character in The Walking Dead, Shane. Like Shane was very cut and dry, like very black and white. Like either we survive or we fucking don't.
yeah.
There was like if he had to kill somebody to survive, he's gonna do it. It was just like that instant.
So then we get back to the present. It's Joel and Ellie making their way through Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
And we get another scene that wasn't really part of the game. So it's like the whole front end of the show is it's revolving around events from the game, but obviously they weren't like scene for scene like some of the ones we've seen. And we find out why Joel is deaf.
Maybe I missed that.
So I believe I'm early, like in one of the really early episodes, Ellie asks him about a scar, and he says like, "Oh, it was like a guy who
Oh yeah,
missed."
yeah, yeah. Okay.
So now Ellie's really distant. Apparently it was the cumulative effect of like her best friend dying, and then the whole thing with fuck, what were their names? Shoot, I'm like Henry and
Sam.
Sam. Yeah, Sam and Henry. That seemed to weigh on her. And then like almost being eaten slash raped. Like that was the final straw. So she's very distant
Yeah.
and kind of checked out. She's traumatized, right? She's in shock still.
Notice how the roles have kind of flip flop. Where initially, like Joel was very closed off, and it was Ellie that was very animated, and then like yeah, this the beginning of this episode, it's Ellie being like very kind of like somber. She's got a bunch of shit going on in her head, and it's like Joel almost trying to distract her and be kind of hey, like he's. I wouldn't say he's a clown, but he's definitely more animated than he was.
Well, they were kind of on opposite arcs where Joel was so shut off from that trauma. He sort of closed off all of his emotions to the world, and Ellie's bringing that back out. And then through the course of this, yeah, I guess some really up close and personal deaths and cannibal rapists would make you want to just shut things out for a little bit. And it seems like he is really trying to connect with her, and he reveals that the guy who missed, shooting him, and there's this, scar he's got, was him.
Yeah,
And he kind of explains that there was a suicide attempt. And you're
yeah,
like, oh fuck.
yeah,
And I think that makes sense with Joel. It actually pays off the whole hearing thing.
yeah,
I mean, because you assume it was just because he's been shooting guns a ton,
yeah.
but it's like, oh yeah, if he just held it up right next to his head and he jerked, like,
Yeah, guns are loud as fuck.
yeah.
Anyone that's ever shot a pistol, like you when you go to a range, obviously you're made to wear hearing protection because guns are fucking loud. And even with hearing protection, you still hear the loud pop.
Um, and I really like the addition of the scene. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I didn't want Joel to completely go full like friend, like hey, like father figure friend. I still wanted him to be a little more reserved, pulled back. But again, I think he was trying to like get. He's trying to figure out what was bothering Ellie. He at this point he totally is enamored with her. He loves her. It's like Joel definitely sees Ellie as his his daughter. His daughter figure.
Oh, and you know what? I did skip over one scene. I just realized.
Okay.
This is still in the midst, and this was directly from the game of Ellie being really distant, and in the game it was such a beautiful moment because there are like 1,000 instances of Joel being like, "All right, I'm going to boost you up so we can get past this blockage," and there's always
Uh-huh.
this sort of like puzzle aspect of it,
Yeah.
and then you're playing, and he's like, "All right, I'm going to boost you up," and Ellie's just like off in the distance. Like it's the first time in the game where he goes to boost her up and she's just not there, and you're like, oh fuck, something's really wrong. And
Yeah, and that actually happens almost exactly like in the video game. Like if she goes up, he picks her up, she gets up there, she sees the ladder, she just throws it down, and she's like, and she
yeah,
just takes off. She just books it. And he's like, what the fuck? And in the video game, you do the same thing. You're like, what the fuck? You find a place to prop the ladder and you go chasing after her.
and in the show, that her not being there initially doesn't quite have the same weight. It's more of a little Easter egg for people who did play the game,
Yeah.
because thankfully, I think to the benefit of the show, there's not 1,000 instances of Joel boosting Ellie up on a shit.
Why not?
But then she goes, and there are giraffes that have escaped from the zoo. She gets to feed one. And here's the crazy thing: how did you think what did you think of the CGI on the giraffes?
I don't think they were. I think there was they actually used a live giraffe,
They
right?
they did.
Yeah.
That was a trick question, Mondo. Too
Yeah,
smart. Because when I was looking at it, I was like, "Fuck! Like this CGI is like pretty solid. I think it could be a little bit better though."
I saw something. I saw something where Bella Ramsey, the actress, like I guess in real life, like kind of befriended the giraffe as well as you could befriend a giraffe. She kind of was like, "Oh my god,
Wait, what is befriending a giraffe entail?
you feed them, you feed them whatever the fuck those leaves that they fucking eat."
Is she like riding it?
I don't think you can ride a giraffe, dude.
What?
Maybe you
Yeah,
could.
of course you can. You can ride anything, Mondo.
Okay,
You can ride anything,
okay,
anything.
all right. Can you
Um,
ride a kitten?
yeah. I mean, if you were very small,
Oh, stop it.
Or is a really big kitten.
Okay.
So that, I mean, there was that scene, but yeah, I think the entire section with Joel opening up a little bit and talking about his suicide attempt was good, because the way I interpreted that is he's like reading the signs. He's like, oh, I know that look. I know that 1,000-yard stare. Like, that's been me.
Yeah.
And he was trying to explain like how that road can end.
Well, also when I this is like kind of a when you seen um someone you care for kind of go like down in the dumps, you want to get them out of that. You want to get them out of that,
Yeah.
like that feeling of like feeling shitty, especially because he knows, like you said, she's got that 1,000-yard stare. She's almost been fucking raped and murdered, all this stuff. So he really now that he really cares about her, he doesn't want her to. He wants her to maintain her youth. He wants her to stay a child. He doesn't want her to be a grown up yet. She's fucking whatever, 12, 14 years old. You know.
Yeah. Exactly. So then, to lighten the mood back up a little bit, because he's like, oh fuck, I know I'm talking about my suicide. He's like, we need corny puns. And I was fine with not having them, try to traverse a causeway and get swept up in a flood.
Uh huh.
Like, they don't hear the fireflies sneaking up on them because Joel has asked Ellie to tell him corny puns. I'm like, yeah, that works. But then from there on out, like, the episode was just a blur. I thought it was like, you wake up, Joel wakes up and he's in the Firefly controlled hospital, and then I'm like, oh fuck, he's just killing everyone. And then, it felt like it was a blink of an eye to me until we got to that very last scene where Ellie is sort of questioning Joel on whether or not his recounting of what happened in Salt Lake City is real. Was that the way you experienced the episode, or
Sure. Sounds good to me.
what did you think about the Joel rampage scene? I don't know how else to call it. Like, Joel just it wasn't even John Wick. It was
So
just,
we did talk about that last
yeah.
during the last recording. We're like, what do you want to see for the last episode, and do you want to see a John Wick like thing? I was like, fuck yeah, that needs this. It needs that.
Did,
And the way they did it
yeah.
was, it was there was no speaking, there was no talking, there was no interaction with him, and it was just him kind of going from room to room and just clearing every motherfucker out, everyone that shot him, whether they shot at him or not. The only time he kind of held back was final room when he sees the doctors, and he's like, should I kill these fuckers?
But the doctor who picked up the scalpel, he did not hesitate for a second.
Boom, boom, right in the face.
I mean, did that satisfy what you want? The way they did that whole sequence? Really, I did not like it at all.
So like in the in the game when you're playing it, part of the little quirks that the game has is you actually craft and upgrade guns throughout the process of the game.
Yeah.
And you make pipe bombs, smoke bombs, and I forget what other bullshit, Molotov cocktails. I would have liked to have seen him use more of those weapons in the like throw a Molotov cocktail, and then like make a little pipe bomb. Not that he could make one in 5 seconds, but make a pipe bomb, throw in, blow another guy up. Just a more homage to the video game itself.
I wanted that whole section to be a little bit more gritty and kind of desperate feeling. Do you know what I mean? Because it wasn't just that he killed them all, it was like he did it so easily.
Yeah.
He was just like floating through the rooms.
Yep.
It's like when you play a game on super easy
It's
mode.
like he's Neo and everybody else are like the fucking bots.
And exactly. And it's like, well, these are supposed to be trained soldiers and they have assault rifles, and he's just literally just walking through all of them.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to see, I wanted, because in the John Wick movies, like, he gets kind of dinged up a little bit. He's getting hit, and it's gritty, and it's not always like, he has to improvise and stab someone in the neck with a pencil. Like, it's
yeah.
And in the midst of that, I wanted to see this sort of like desperation from Joel, like, oh no, not this fucking shit again, right? Because the thing that he had closed off and that made him shut off all those emotions was the death of his daughter being killed by a soldier. And now he's in a hospital filled with soldiers, And as we just talked about earlier, like he's kind of opening up. Like
Yeah.
he sees Ellie now as that daughter figure, and they just made him go like super cold,
Yeah.
which I thought was weird because to me the whole progression of Joel's character is him opening back up and engaging with those emotions again. So like I wanted to see him, I mean not like delirious, but like a little bit like frantic, like
Yeah.
freaked out, like he's not doing everything clean. Like some of the kills are super sloppy, and maybe maybe he's getting dinged up because he's rushing through it. He's not just this like cold calculated assassin. I understand what they were thinking. I don't think it was bad. I think if you had let Pedro Pascal try to tap into those emotions, I think it would have been a lot better. And I think it needed to be longer.
Sure.
That's what I think. I wanted John Wick with all this emotional baggage from his daughter getting killed.
The only thing is like I felt like certain fireflies definitely probably deserved to get shot, but because he was kind of just, it was just, I'm shooting all of them, I
Yeah.
don't care, like there was no rhyme or reason behind it all. Like you don't know if they were just some fucking dummy following orders, didn't know any better, and so he just, it didn't matter if they're kind of innocent, kind of in the gray area, or completely assholes, or it was just like, I'm gonna murder the fuck out of all these assholes, I don't give a shit.
So I remember talking about this, but that whole sequence in the game, I was extremely uncomfortable. Like even before I got to the operating room,
Uh-huh.
I was trying to figure out if there were ways I could just sneak around them instead of
Yeah.
actually shooting them.
There really isn't.
No, well, because the game is very linear. It makes you kill all of them.
Yeah.
If I recall, you told me you had no qualms at all.
No, I just fucking went from room to room and just was like, fuck it, I got to do this. I'll kill them all.
Did you at least hesitate in the operating room?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I was there for like 4 minutes, like just like
What am I supposed to do?
well, because you know what the game wants you to do.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there, and the funny part is the surgeon will just stand there holding the scalpel indefinitely.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, come on, dude, like
Yeah.
don't make me. And the game's like, nope, fuck you, you got to.
You have to. Part of the game.
I think it makes sense. Joel in the show not hesitating. I thought that whole sequence was really well done. I thought the sequence with Marlene in the parking lot, sort of same thing, very similar to the way she approached things.
Yeah.
For her, it's kind of like a math equation. It's like once you figure out what you have to do, emotions are out the window. Same thing for him, right? She's begging for her life, and he's just like, nope, you just come after her, which is true, right?
Yeah.
She would have.
Yep.
So he just captured. I thought that was really well done, and then I thought like again that last scene where they are, they're basically back to Tommy's communist paradise,
Yeah.
and Ellie's just
Tell
dude,
me, were you telling me the truth? Everything you said about the fireflies, was that true? And like without hesitation, he was like, yes,
yeah,
everything.
was it without hesitation? I felt like he did hesitate for a
Okay,
second.
but there was more of a cinematic hesitation. I don't think it was there.
A pregnant pause.
Yeah, sure.
But
yeah,
but yeah, if it was Ellie's mom doing a pregnant pause, it would have been out right away. I still can't get over that. She popped one out while fighting a runner, as you do, I guess. But I thought both of them absolutely nailed that scene.
Yeah, no, it was a very good finale. I think they wrapped the season up very nice and neat, and or at least you think they wrapped the season up nice and neat, but then we will find out that there is a season 2, and like, how does that happen?
Oh, there's a season 2. It's been confirmed. They're
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
So
they're not recasting Bella Ramsey for Ellie
for the series as a whole. Who do you think won the series?
Who won the series?
And let me give you 3 possibilities, because I think it really is only 3. It could be Pedro Pascal.
Okay.
It could be Bella Ramsey. It could be Craig Mazin, who's like the show producer. He's the one who did Chernobyl, and
Okay.
or Neil Druckmann, who was the writer creator of the game.
Bella Ramsey.
Do you think Bella Ramsey?
Yeah. To me, she's she proved me wrong. She proved me wrong from the very first episode. I was like, I don't know, it's not very convincing. I don't know if she's going to be a good Ellie. We expect a little sweet, nice little, and right off the bat, she's a little more of a kind of a cunt. But and then that one scene where she kills that David guy, the fucking cannibal guy, I was
Yeah.
like all that was like, okay, yeah, she did her job.
I'm on board with that. You know, because I had the same thing you said. I was like, I didn't like her for the first like couple episodes, and there was that one moment, like one really small moment where they were walking through the flooded hotel, and she starts like play acting the front desk and be
Uh-huh.
kind of goofy. I'm like, all right, Bella Ramsey, you got me. I'm on board. And then she just built off of that and built, and I liked her more and more as Ellie. So I by the end, I was like, yeah, like she's Ellie, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Um, and just to call back to that first scene, beautiful touch because her mother in the show was the voice actress who did Ellie in the game.
Yes.
And that's how I knew I recognized her. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
there she is. Look at her.
I've seen that actress in other shit. I just can't remember what the fuck other shit I've seen her in. I've seen her in other stuff. I just can't pinpoint what exactly I've seen her. Her name's like Ashley Johnston or something
Yep.
or something like that. Yeah, I've seen her in something else. And she's a pretty good actress as well.
Yeah, and she was incredible in the game, which says a lot that I think Bella Ramsey more than lived up to her performance. Like
Yeah.
that is not easy to do. Um, let's you know what? Quick shout out. Let's give a filmography for Ashley Johnston.
Okay.
Uh, interesting. She is going to be in Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves movie coming out in 2023. I'm actually interested to see that. She was in Much to Do About Nothing, 2012 film adaptation. Apparently, she was in the Avengers as a character named Beth. I don't know who that was. She was in The Help, Columbus Day, Brother Solomon. Well, she's been in a lot of small movies. Let's look at television. God, she's been all over the place, huh? She's got so many credits. She was a voice actress in The Legend of Vox Machina, a cartoon that we did not like. Um, Blind Spot. She's done a lot of voice acting.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, uh, Teen Titans Go. Yeah, she's a pretty prolific voice actress. Shout out to Ashley Johnson. Um, okay, next question. Uh, do you think this is going to be the peak of Bella Ramsey's career?
No, no. When I saw Game of Thrones, I thought, who the fuck is this little actress playing whatever Mormont, the little Bear Mormont? Like, came out of nowhere, and she stole that little that's the series of scenes where the
Yeah.
fucking good guys are fighting the bad guys, and she goes and kills a fucking giant. You're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You fucking cheer for her, and you never think like an actress or especially a kid, a child actress is going to get ever like a big role like that ever again that's going to put them on the map. And then she does this and it's like, oh fuck, she did it again. Like so in my I know she's done a lot more than Game of Thrones and this show, but to me she's batting 1,000 because I only know her for these two things and she's done a
But
fucking
do you
good
do
job.
you think it continues to get better for her?
It depends. It depends on what roles she gets. Like do you cast her as do you put her in a rom-com where she's the female love interest?
No, probably
Like,
not.
you know, like there's a certain, and I don't want to say she's typecast, but she's got to play within her skill set as an actress. As long as she stays within that skill set, she'll do great things, I think.
I think this part probably opened up a lot of opportunities
Could, yeah.
because Ellie is such a nuanced character. She has to be funny. She has to be sweet. She has to be an asshole. Like she's kind of a very well fleshed out three-dimensional character.
Uh-huh.
I would not be surprised though if at the end of her acting career, if you look back, you're like, this is her best role ever.
You think so?
Wouldn't be surprised. Hopefully not. Hopefully,
Yeah.
because a lot of that is out of her control.
Yeah.
But this Ellie is such a good role, and she was so good in Ellie. Could be the best she gets.
I would whatever she does, that's whatever major production she does, whether it's a movie
Mhm.
or a TV show or whatever, I'm gonna watch it because of her. I'm gonna watch it because of Bella Ramsey. Like even if she's like a minor character, if she's in an ensemble and she's one of many, like I want to watch it because of her.
All right. Next question. What was the worst episode of the show?
Um, I felt I don't know. I had to really think back. I think it's got to probably be one of the earlier ones where it was like there was some good stuff there, but um, Again, I don't think that the Sam and Henry stuff needed 2 episodes. Really, there was other stuff that they could have expounded, but they chose that little storyline to do 2 episodes on. But it wasn't awful. It just wasn't like my favorite to do it in two. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I have to go back and see them all to kind of like give the proper answer. But I think off the cuff, I would say it had to be either one of those 2 episodes or one of the earlier episodes.
Interesting. I thought it was Kin. That was episode 6. That's
He meets.
there were good moments. I mean, in that episode, that was the one episode to me that where I just felt like it dragged a little bit. Where I was, most of them, I'm like, holy fuck, that was only an hour. It's over already.
Yeah.
That one, I was like, oh, it's still going. Okay. And it was good for character development, but I felt like they just needed to do a little bit more with that. I thought even some of the elements of the game where there was a little bit of action or something could have just helped that episode along. What do you think was the best episode of the show?
God damn. It'd be a tie between the Nick Offerman one and then the one where she kills David I think I'd have to give it to the Bella Ramsey performance where she fucking just that one scene alone just does it for me. That one scene where she does a good job. Like she's very convincing and she's taking all her frustrations out on fucking homeboy's face with a knife. Like that was like I was like rooting for her. It got me excited.
Fair enough. I that episode I liked. I actually see, it's funny. I guess we're just on different opinions. I don't think there's a right or wrong. That I wanted to be 2 episodes. I kind of wanted them to have a similar pacing to the Sam and Henry episodes, where you can kind of flesh things out a little bit. You can get to know those characters a little bit better to understand how you arrive at that climactic moment. And kind of for the same reason, my favorite, and I'm going to bundle them together, were the Sam and Henry episodes. I actually liked it. I can see why you would want it to be quicker, but for me, it really worked. And you get probably the craziest scene in the entire show, like that whole climax where Joel is in the sniper's perch. There's all the chaos between the Kansas City freedom fighters and the horde and everything. It was fucking nuts, and I was like, wow, that whole thing really paid off, at least for me. And then you get the sort of tragic ending. So I liked it. It worked for me. And just to clap up, just a couple of minutes, or do you have any thoughts or hopes for season 2?
I'm going to tell you this. I am not going to play the video game of season 2. I want to go into season 2 completely unaware of what's going to happen or what I should expect. I want to go in it from a clean slate.
Yeah.
Especially because you told me how like there's a lot of backlash with some of the choices that they made with the characters and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? I want to go with a clean slate and form my own opinion. And that way I could tell, or I could at least those people that had those big problems, I could say it whether I care or not. I could tell you, fuck you guys are wrong, or fuck you, maybe you have a point. I want to go with a clean slate. So,
well, the other thing too is that I think the first game was such a masterpiece and so well done. Where when I was suggesting, I'm like, hey, play the game first. I wouldn't want, if the show had turned out to be dog shit, I didn't want it to spoil the game for you.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, I think you could experience it either way. I think watching the show first and then playing the game, or the other way around, was fine. I think the game, the second game, was good, but there were definitely some places where the storytelling could have been a little bit tighter, where I think on this go around they might actually improve it. So even had you not said that, I would be like, hey Mondo, maybe just wait. If you're gonna play the game, wait till you see the show, because I think they actually can improve upon the show, or they can improve upon the game a lot more in the show. Whereas this season, I was just hoping that they could live up to the game.
Yeah.
And I think some places they actually did improve.
Yeah.
I think some places, maybe, at least for me, from my experience, it was a little bit worse. But on the whole, it was more just about trying to live up to the game. And if you improve, add a bonus. Whereas, like, I'm hoping they improve. I'm hoping they clean up some of that narrative issue that a lot of people struggled with. And as far as the social aspects that people had problems with, I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll care about that as much either, but I don't know.
As long as it makes sense. Again, there's sometimes where they do that stuff and they force certain things, and it feels forced. You're like, ah. As long as they don't, as long as it makes sense, and as long as the story lends to whatever choices they make, then I'm all for it. I don't give a shit.
All right.
Anything else you want to add to the episode, sir?
No, man, I think that was it.
I will probably be going to the Dodger game tomorrow, but by the time this episode releases, it'll be like 2 days ago. So go Dodgers. Hopefully they come into town to play the Rockies. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys